Good evening. Welcome to the Township of Hillsborough Planning and Zoning Department. Planning Board public meeting for February 28th, 2019. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You actually type the pledge in? You actually put the pledge in? You actually type in the pledge?
This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law. Looks like we have an oath of office for Sam Weinstein, but he's not here tonight, so we could give him the oath of office, but he can't take the oath of office because he's not here. So next, could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Delport.
Here.
Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Committeeman Lapani.
Here.
Mr. Peason.
Present.
Mr. Sirachi. Mr. Julian.
Here.
Mr. Weinstein absent. Mr. Scoville absent. Mr. Estag.
Here. Here.
Mr. Deb.
Here.
And Baker, not here.
Okay, next up on the agenda would be the consideration of meeting minutes, which I don't see any meeting minutes, so we will pass on that. Next would be the consideration of resolutions, which we have to talk about the redevelopment plan before we look at any resolutions.
We don't have any prior resolutions.
Prior, okay.
Tonight.
So the next thing on the agenda would be the planning board business, which is the Sherman redevelopment plan.
Mr. Chairman, just before we do that, the reason that's on, that's March 28th, is just really a reminder. Although it is a business meeting, we will be meeting. That's the Capital Planning Committee will be making their presentation that night, and we will also actually have an application that night as well. So let us know if you can't make it for any reason.
So there'll be three meetings in March, is that correct, David?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the next step on the agenda would be the Sherman redevelopment plan. And there's the copy of the plan, of the draft Sherman redevelopment plan, which prior to adopting the plan, the Township Committee is required by the local redevelopment and housing law to refer the plan to the Planning Board for consideration and comment. As noted, the local redevelopment and housing law, the Planning Board may identify any provisions of the redevelopment plan that are inconsistent with the Township Master Plan and make recommendations concerning those inconsistencies in any other matter the board deems appropriate. And that's why we're here tonight. And with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Maskey to tell us about the redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little note tonight, we're trying something different in terms of audio-visual. So we are putting some of the maps up on the screens behind you. We also have the hard boards. Going forward, it's our intention to have applicants use the screens as well. So we're going to set up a system where they can come in and plug in a thumb drive or whatever it needs to be. So we'll have site plans, subdivisions, et cetera, shown up on the screens as well.
Very good.
Okay. Okay. All right. As the chairman said, we're here to review the Sherman redevelopment plan as has been referred by the Township Committee. So what I want to do tonight is go over the major components of the plan, and then we can discuss it and answer any questions you might have. First of all, the purpose of the plan, the redevelopment plan, is to establish new land use standards for what is known as the Sherman Tract, which is located off of Champlain Road. And I'll refer you to the map. The maps that are on the shelf and also on the screens are in the back of the redevelopment plan that you all have. So let's skip to the aerial view. So as you can see on the map, Champlain Road is to the north, South 20th, and the Manville border is on the east of the, I'm sorry, I should say the area outlined in red is the rehabilitation area that the redevelopment plan refers to. Royce Brook forms the southern boundary of the tract. You can see the windy line at the bottom. That's also the Manville border. And to the west is Lincoln, and further west is Sunnymead. The 65-acre tract of land, when you put the whole tract together, was purchased by the township in 2018 for the production of affordable housing in an effort to meet our court-imposed affordable housing obligation. The redevelopment plan establishes the standards under which the housing would be developed. In accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law, or the LRHL for short, the tract was designated as an area in need of rehabilitation by the Township Committee on July 10, 2018. That action established the basis for the adoption of the redevelopment plan, which was prepared in conformance with the requirements of the LRHL. And as you go through the plan itself, you'll see different sections, and each one of those sections is basically required by the LRHL. So we respond to each of the requirements. As stated in Section 2 of the plan, the goals of the redevelopment plan are to allow for a creative and flexible transformation of this underutilized tract into a productive and stabilized development that will complement the surrounding residential neighborhoods and directly contribute to the production of affordable housing. Right now, this area is all zoned industrial, and as was noted in the redevelopment investigation that established the rehabilitation area, there have been a number of proposals over the years, going back to the 20s, but as you know, none of them have been built to date. So within that context, the township's objectives for the rehabilitation area are to, 1, provide parcels of land of sufficient size and dimension to enable an orderly arrangement of new land uses. 2, create land use and building requirements specific to the rehabilitation area that are sensitive to environmental features, particularly those associated with Royce Brook and nearby residential uses. And I'll talk a little bit more about the Royce Brook in a few minutes. Curtail the encroachment of non-residential uses into the immediate neighborhood. As I said, it's currently industrial, but it's ringed by residential uses along Camp Lane and South 20th. So this would prevent any industrial incursions into the residential neighborhood. And require that 100% of the units constructed on the site meet low and moderate income affordability standards. So as I said, the township purchased this property with money from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for that very purpose. The plan divides the tract into 2 parcels, A and B, as seen on Figure 1. Parcel A, which is 3 acres and is to the upper right of the map at the corner of, basically at the corner of Camp Lane and 20th. It's the smaller of the 2. The plan calls for the parcel to be developed consistent with the surrounding residential district. In other words, single-family homes and public facilities. So that area right now is zoned R residential. That part is not industrial, that 3-acre parcel. And the plan says basically leave it zoned industrial. I'm sorry, residential. Parcel B, which is the larger parcel, is 62 acres and is the primary focus of the plan. The plan calls for this parcel to be developed with multifamily housing consisting of approximately 176 units at no more than 8 units per building. As a footnote, this same parcel was approved for 232 dwelling units back in 2006. The plan contains the usual list of design standards, including the following. All buildings must be at least 50 feet from the tract boundary. The maximum height of buildings is 2.5 stories and 35 feet, which is the same as all the residential districts in the township. Total impervious coverage is restricted to 30% of the site. A minimum of 60% of the site, about 40 acres, is to be devoted to conservation and open space. And that's by choice as much as it is by mandate of the DRCC. If you look at the environmental features on this site, fully 2/3 of the site, the southern part of the site running down to Royce Brook, are within the DRCC buffer. So you can't touch them anyway. So any development that happens on the site is going to be to the northern, closer to Camp Lane. Everything down towards Royce Brook will be conservation open space, roughly 40 acres. In addition, the project will be designed as a walkable neighborhood as opposed to the usual collection of buildings situated around a parking lot. Sidewalks will be connecting all buildings and facilities throughout the development, and all buildings are encouraged to meet green building standards. In closing, I'd like to refer to Section 2.2 of the plan that addresses the redevelopment plan's relationship to the master plan, which is one of the things you're tasked with commenting on. The township adopted a housing plan element and fair share plan in 2010 in compliance with the Council on Affordable Housing third-round rules. Since then, continuing litigation at the state level has resulted in the dissolution of COA and the courts taking full jurisdiction over the affordable housing process. The township is now anticipating the adoption of a new housing plan, hopefully, by the end of 2019. It is expected that the Sherman Tract will be an integral part of the housing plan and that the redevelopment plan will serve to implement the housing plan and the master plan. That concludes my fairly short presentation, but if there's any questions, discussion, we could take that up now.
David, you said the southern part, it gets restricted to open space because of the wetlands and the floodplain. How many acres is that?
It'd be roughly 40 acres
So
of the
roughly-
62, yeah.
Okay, so it's 40 of the 62 then. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to see 60% of the redevelopment will be put away to as a conservation area, but, so what is it, like 150 foot off of the stream corridor?
It's more than that, 'cause there's wetlands. It comes out
Oh,
comes pretty far out.
Okay.
A little interesting footnote. The first subdivision we could find was roughly in the 1920s, and they had overlain a typical grid street pattern, about 1,500 lots. And it went all the way down to the brook. There was no buffer whatsoever back in those days. They had a road actually following the brook.
That
And
was
the
before-
lots came right up to the brook.
That was before any wetlands?
That was before anything,
Yeah.
in the 20s, yeah.
I mean, I guess when I was looking at the map too, I was just kind of wondering some of the streets going into the development. I mean, how do you, is it going to be any traffic issues with trying to continue those streets into the development, or, you know what I mean? Like, how does
Yes.
that work?
Yes, they're going to be required to have at least 2 outlets to the overall street system. There are a number of potential outlets. Most of those streets that are there are basically stub streets coming off of Champlain or South 20th, or even from the presidential streets to the west. They're paper streets to some extent. So when the project gets actually designed, they would have to obviously address access, both vehicular and pedestrian, to make sure it works.
And that's Sunnymead on the west side there?
Well, it's off the map.
Okay.
That's Lincoln, and I'm not sure that's a totally improved road. Sunnymead would be further west off the map.
Okay.
The 4 streets that are listed on the left side of the property line all intersect out to Sunnymead.
Yeah.
Right. Correct.
For all those old people who've been around town for a long time. David, could you just go over, obviously, on that smaller parcel A?
Yes.
Obviously, with the size of that, what kind of density would be
It's
proposed for that?
1-2 acre zoning, basically 1 acre would
So
be
it would
sewer.
be-
So you're not going to see a lot of housing in there, put it that way.
Essentially, it's only 6 acres, you're not going to get a bunch.
It's only 3 acres.
3 acres, so.
Yeah,
1 or
and it's
2
kind of,
acres.
and there's some other reserve, I think there's actually a small parcel in there that's on the Rossi. So it's more than likely if a house or two, it would mimic or mirror what's already there on the corner. Or it can be preserved as an open space as well, or some sort of public facility. Could be a neighborhood park, could be any number of things, but basically in character with your typical single-family residential neighborhood. So we're not seeing a lot of change on that particular parcel.
And we don't yet have any clarity on the number of units, right?
About 176.
Okay, 176 units.
Permissible.
So 176 divided by 8, right? 8 is going to be the maximum units per
In
building.
any one building
Right.
would be 8. There may be some less than that, like maybe
Gotcha.
6 or whatever.
Understood, thank you.
And then what did we say would be dedicated to COA, based on that?
All of it.
100%.
All of it.
Oh,
100%.
okay. So that would definitely help fulfilling our obligation.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just
Basically, it'll eliminate some of the density on some of the other projects that are coming to town and allow that to be, to the affordables to be built all in one location, or not all, but a large number of them.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was all.
An amount that, as the mayor has indicated, that will reduce densities on other potential sites that are being, that either you have approved or you will be seeing in the very near future.
Okay. That'll help.
So, I just had, so could it be, we probably don't know this right now, but it could be various developers that have various projects throughout the town might do their affordable housing portion there, or might it be one project?
As for this project, Ken, I think it is viewed at the moment as one or two redevelopers. We've looked at this sort of in two phases of 88 each. What is before you this evening is phase one,
The entire plan.
the entire plan, but the intent is, I believe, the committee is at least at the moment looking at the possibility of designating a developer for phase one.
I think his question was, though, the developments that would feed affordable at this
Will-
development
at the
would be more than one development.
At the moment, yes.
Was that your question?
Yeah, I mean, they'll all follow the same guidelines and probably all look similar, right? But I was just wondering if, like, different development projects are gonna, if it's gonna be used for different projects, right, to meet that requirement.
So that's why, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's why you have for phase one redeveloper, so that all of the requirements for phase one would be consistent and the same.
Right.
And theoretically, that would be for phase two as well, if you don't want to sort of mix
Right.
match but certainly that's one of the reasons you name one redeveloper for the phase.
Yep. All right, good, thank you.
Correct, David?
Yes, the plan applies to the entire tract.
Right.
Right, but it will be
Right.
phased, but the regulations, if you will, the design provisions apply to the entire tract. So
Right.
it won't,
Different phases are different projects, in a way.
when I define project, I mean, can it be two different developers? Potentially, yes,
Okay.
or more.
David, could you talk about where this would go from here?
Sure. If the board decides tonight that yeah, it is indeed consistent with the master plan, and they accept it as written, they don't have any changes to recommend, it would report back to the Township Committee that the Planning Board has reviewed the plan and is recommending its passage or adoption by the Township Committee. The Township Committee has to adopt it by ordinance. The ordinance was introduced last month, I guess it was. So now it would go to public hearing for second reading and consideration and adoption by the Township Committee. And the next step after that would then to get into naming a redeveloper. Under the redevelopment law, you can't develop or redevelop a parcel within a redevelopment area or area in need of rehabilitation, as is this one, unless you are officially named the redeveloper. And obviously, in this case, we own the property anyway, but the Township Committee needs to say, all right, entity X, you are the redeveloper for phase one, X amount of units. We enter into a redeveloper agreement, which would lay out even more detail about what they have to deliver and how it will be financed, et cetera. And they go forward. Then they would have to come back with a site plan to the planning board, showing that the details reflecting what's in the redevelopment plan.
So tonight, after we're kind of done talking, then we would adopt this ordinance that is up here to...
Well, you're commenting on, well, the ordinance, but more so the plan itself.
Okay.
The ordinance is sort of a trailer. That's how the plan gets adopted by ordinance. So you're really, commenting on the plan itself. The ordinance references the plan.
Okay.
Essentially to give the township committee the feedback from the planning board as to the plan. That's what we're doing.
No, because I saw this ordinance in the packet. but
Yeah, well,
why I
that's the
thought-
official adopting ordinance, but
Okay.
it's the plan that you're actually looking at.
That's why I thought maybe we'd adopt this tonight and we'd go back to the township committee. but
No,
that's
no,
not
no.
the
The
case.
planning
Okay.
board doesn't really adopt any of this. They're really just commenting on it. It's an ordinance. So, yeah, it's an ordinance adopted by the governing body.
Okay.
So we're basically just approving to send up the redevelopment plan as is.
As is or with
Or
comment?
with comment, yeah.
Or however,
Yeah.
correct.
Does anybody else have any other comments? Mr. Bernstein, you have anything else, or?
Very detailed packet, looks great.
Open to public.
Make a motion to open it to public.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, since no one from the public is here, I'll make a motion to close it to the public.
Second?
All right, took care of that.
Okay, with that being said, then we'll make a motion.
Is everybody in favor of opening public
All in
portion?
favor.
Thank you.
Aye. Opposed?
So we are closed to public. So we'll make a motion to send the redevelopment plan to the township committee
As written.
as written. So we need a roll call on that?
And we will do a resolution for the record to memorialize same.
Resolution here?
Well, you got.
Or when it-
My office will draft it.
Okay.
Ostensibly, you're approving the motion to send it, and in part of that will be a resolution memorializing such. It will not come back to you all for another vote, unless you wanted to, and then it'll come back next week. But I don't think we need to.
I don't think so.
So we'll just make a motion to send it up to the township committee as written?
Written.
Okay. All right, so then can we do a roll call on
I
that?
need a motion.
Motion.
I'm sorry.
Motion in a second.
So we need a motion to send it to the township committee as written.
I'll make a motion to send this up to the township committee as written, with no additional comments.
May second it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Eskai?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Delcor?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Deb?
Yes.
Chairman Julia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
We need a motion to open to the public business not on the agenda.
We have a motion to open business from the floor that's not on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Anyone from the public?
No one from the public. Motion to close business from the floor.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Wagner, second.
Just a reminder, the next meeting is March 7th. Yes, we do have a full agenda, and as I said earlier, March 28th as well. So there'll be 3 meetings this month.
Okay, with that, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.